I am travelling from London to Lapland without flying.
On the way, I'm visiting Germany's best Christmas markets, taking the train through Scandinavia, boarding a ferry across the Baltic Sea, and taking the Santa Claus Express in search of Father Christmas himself. In this episode, I'm exploring the Swedish capital Stockholm at Christmas. Before, I only really knew it to be the home of ABBA, but it is somewhere that really surprised me.
I have made it to Stockholm.
And I've got two things that I really want to do, both music related, and I'm heading to one of them now.
Oh, that museum definitely made me a bit emotional. In my sort of late teens, early 20s, I absolutely loved Avicii. He was my favourite, and I was so sad when he passed. It was the day I was in Malmö and then went back to Copenhagen, so it was even more like poignant. And yeah, it was a really good museum, a really good tribute to him, and a good explanation as well of how much pressure fame can get and how much it can affect people's mental health. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you're ever in Stockholm. I'm now come to the older district of the city, and I'm just in front of the Swedish Houses of Parliament. So this is actually its own island, and this is the Riksdagshuset, it's called. It's where Swedish politics are implemented to this day. And just across is the Royal Palace. So this is where the Royal Family of Sweden still live to this day. Like the British Royal Family, they don't actually have any political power. They're kind of the figurative head. And he makes visits to other countries and other palaces, but it's all kind of just ceremonial. This is Riddarhuset, which was a 17th century palace where the knights of Sweden would meet. It says it's not open at the moment. I guess maybe it's only open in the summertime. So I am going to go to the cathedral, which is that way, but I'm also very curious about this church up here. Weirdly, I'm literally standing right in front of this place, and I cannot see any information about it on Google Maps. Like, it's just a grey block. I don't know if I can go in. Or maybe there's some information here. The Riddarholm Church. I actually walked across a bridge, and I'm on an island now called Riddarholm. And this apparently is the Riddarholm Church, but that's the only information I know about it. Museum, Royal Burial Church, and the Church of the Order of the Seraphim. Oldest preserved building in the city, and its only surviving medieval monastery church. It was built 1290. I guess this is the downfall of visiting Stockholm in winter. I've not quite got the weather for it today, but I can imagine this is lovely in the summer. Look at this square. Now, if you've watched the channel before, you'll know that I like to do a bit of historical research whenever I arrive somewhere. So this is my very first time in Stockholm, but I did do a little bit of research to see what the city's history is. So Stockholm dates back around 700 years. It was founded in around 1250. So this church basically dates back to the city's conception, and it was originally a trading hub. Its position was quite beneficial because it was on this kind of network of islands, and it was also on the Baltic Sea, so it was quite easy to access Baltic countries, other Scandinavian countries, the rest of the Nordics, and even to go out into the North Sea and thus access the rest of the world. It became the centre of Swedish monarchy and grew in influence quite significantly in the 14th and 15th centuries. And in the 14th century, the Kalmar Union was created, which was a union between all Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway and Sweden, although Sweden was only in it until the 16th century. It also became the heart of the Swedish kingdom, which at points occupied parts or all of Finland, Latvia, Estonia, parts of Russia, parts of Poland, Denmark and Norway. So during the Swedish Empire's peak, it basically controlled much of Northern Europe, so this was a really important city. Obviously that empire collapsed, and these days Stockholm is the capital of just Sweden. Sweden was neutral in both world wars, and in the latter half of the 20th century it has advanced quite a lot to become the developed and progressive city that it is known as today. So this area that I'm in now is really the historic heart of Stockholm. And yeah, I just love this church. So Riddarholmen, which is the island that I am on at the moment, can be translated to Knights Island. And the church that I've been talking about is very significant because it is where knights were often buried. I'm going to leave Knights Island now and walk back over to Gamla Torget, which is the name for Stockholm's old town. Come on then, let's go. And here is some pub quiz trivia for you. Sweden is the country in the world with the most islands. It has over 267,000 islands, but less than 1,000 of them are inhabited. Look at this Merry Christmas street. Here we have Stockholm's main cathedral. Is it worth going in? That is the question. It's over £7 to go in. That is quite a lot, so I will probably give that one a miss, but let's have a little walk around the outside at least. Here we go, here's it from the other side. Got a square down here. Oh, I see the National Museum over the other side. Along with my Swedish island fact from earlier, I also just discovered that Stockholm itself has over 30,000 islands. That's wild! And just in front of the cathedral is an obelisk dedicated to Gustav III. Gustav III was an 18th century king of Sweden, and he is celebrated now mainly due to his contributions to Swedish culture. He was also assassinated. Oh, actually, the plot thickens. So Gustav was king of Sweden in the 18th century. The 18th century was the start of the monarchs having less control over Sweden. Now, Gustav III opposed this, and he tried to pass bills that would mean that he kept hold of his power, and so would his successors. However, this is ultimately why he was assassinated. When his son became king, he did not have the same power, and the monarchs in Sweden never really did again. And this is Stortorget, which is largely known as the centre of Stockholm's old town. Really lovely colourful buildings. Most of them date back to the 13th century. And here is the Nobel Prize Museum. I'm just debating whether it is time for glögg yet or not. I think it might be. I've not had lunch yet, but when in Stockholm, eh? Glögg o'clock. And I asked the lady who is serving it how to pronounce it, and it's glögg. I think that's right. She said it's an sound. My pronunciation is awful. I really struggle with pronunciation, but I am trying to be better. That is lovely. That is really nice. Warms you from the inside out. I'm going to say bye to the old town now and venture back over to the new city. Now, I'm a bit hungry, and I have found somewhere that is cheap, that has vegetarian options, and is traditionally Swedish. Can you guess where that might be? Let's go. So this cost me the grand total of £3.55. Let's dig in. So good. And so cheap. Having a very Swedish day, aren't I? I'm going to attempt to take the tram to the ABBA Museum now, because I was running a little bit low on time to walk. It looks like you can just tap your card on the reader and it will just let you in. So fingers crossed. I think that was okay. The tram was approaching just as I was crossing the road, so I got on it and there was a man with a card reader, so I just tapped that and I have been charged £1 so I'm presuming that that's just a daily thing and then they'll charge at the end of the day like they do in London. Read online you can pay by card on the tram, which I presume that's what I did, but then it also said if you don't have a ticket on the tram you'll be charged 1,500 SEK, which is over £100, so hopefully I've not just gone on without a ticket and I'm being charged over £100. We shall see. It's 2:32 and I just looked up sunset time, which is going to be at 2:50 today. Today's the 2nd of December, so we're about 2.5 weeks before the shortest day of the year. And I've also just seen they have a Tivoli here as well. Doesn't look as extravagant as the one in Copenhagen. Oh my goodness, I am buzzing for this. The ABBA museum was absolutely fantastic. I am the biggest ABBA fangirl, so I was very excited for all of that. It's literally the reason why I've been wanting to come to Stockholm, is just to go to the ABBA museum. Anyway, I'm walking along this area now by the harbour. I'm not too sure what to do. I've got about 2 hours until, well, I've got 3 hours really until I need to check in for my ferry. Obviously I need to get there, and I did want to check out the metro, the Stockholm metro, which is meant to be quite nice, and I think I can use the metro to get part of the way to the harbour. So that is part of the plan, but I think I could do another coffee today, even though it's looks like it's night time already. But I didn't get much sleep last night, and I think I will still be able to sleep regardless, so I think I'm going to do another coffee. I'm very tempted for another cardamom bun, but then also I could go back to IKEA and get more meatballs. Maybe I'll just do both. Interesting. I was looking for a cafe with cosy vibes, so let's see if I found one. I'm back at the station. I've just grabbed my bag. That cost me about £15 to store it for the day, so it ain't cheap, but I think it was necessary today. So I've had a really good day in Stockholm. I've seen everything I was planning on seeing and a little bit more. The old town was really, really nice. I don't know what I was expecting actually, but I didn't know it was so well preserved, and I'm glad that I got to see both Avicii and the ABBA experiences. Pretty much sums up my music taste, so I very much enjoyed both of them. So I highly recommend a trip to Stockholm. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to start my next one about taking the ferry to Finland in a moment, so if you want to catch that one, make sure you're subscribed. See you next time. Bye!